surprise attack was so complete that the coded success signal, Tora, 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 was sent back to the carrier task force just before the first bomb fell. A single remote radar station had spotted the incoming raiders, but mistook them for a flight of B-17s due in from the mainland. The B-17s arrived, and like America herself, find themselves in a war that had not yet been declared. The attack was from the Japanese aircraft carriers Akagi, Akaga, Hiru, Soru, and the two new carriers, the Shokuku and the Suikuku. The plan was simple: destroy the Pacific Fleet. The raid lasted for just a little over 2 gruesome hours. When the first bombs began to fall, pilots all over the island jumped into action. At Wheeler Field, Lieutenant Philip Rasmussen woke to the sound of bombs, jumping out of bed, strapping on a .45 caliber pistol over his purple pajamas, and ran to a working Curtiss P-36 Hawk. I don't know if you just noticed that, but the P-40 and the P-36 took off just to go chase and defend our country. He was joined by 4 more P-36 pilots, Lewis Sanders, Harry Brown, and Gordon Sterling. Malcolm Whitmore. They took off to engage the attacking Japanese and managed to shoot down a few of the Zeros, Vals, and Kates. The enemy numbers were incredibly overwhelming. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the island, Kenneth Taylor and George Wells were just returning from an all-night dinner, dance, and poker party. These brave pilots, still in their formal dress clothes, raced to a couple of P-40 Warhawks, got them fielded and armed, and took off. They quickly found themselves in the middle of a real battle. These two pilots caught up with the Japanese close to Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field and engaged the Zeros, Vals, and Kates with rounds from their .30 caliber machine guns. However, they quickly ran out, but luckily they were able to land at Wheeler Field, which is near the center of the island. They refueled and reloaded with .30 and .50 caliber ammo and took off once again to fight the Japanese. These two pilots are credited with downing a total of 6 Japanese warplanes before their own planes were disabled. Both pilots received a Distinguished Service Cross for their actions that infamous day. A total of 502 U.S. planes on the ground at the beginning of the attack. Sadly, 188 were totally destroyed. 159 damaged, and 155 aircraft lay on the ground at various stages of disrepair. The first wave of 189 Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates hammered Hawaii for almost an hour. Then came the second wave of an additional 171 aircraft to continue the strafing, bombing, and dropping of torpedoes for yet another 70 minutes. Yes, that's a total of 360 enemy warplanes. As the attack proceeded at Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field, the devastation was horrifying. On the eastern edge of Ford Island in the center of the harbor, 9 battleships lay at berth. The California, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Tennessee, Maryland, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Utah, and Arizona. Luckily at the time, our 3 Pacific aircraft carriers were out at sea. First, the Japanese hit with Kate torpedo bombers. The initial wave of Kates hit 5 of our battleships, the Oklahoma, Nevada, West Virginia, and the Utah. These Kates were specially equipped with shallow-running torpedoes specifically designed for the attack on Pearl Harbor. You see, the shallow waters at Pearl Harbor would not allow the use of normal deep-running torpedoes, which leaves no question that this was a thought-out plan and not a surprise attack. Then came the Valdive bombers, armed with 1,700 pounds of armor-busting projectiles, originally made for 16-inch battleship guns, but were converted to aerial bombs. These planes dived down onto the Nevada and the Arizona. Anti-aircraft veered the Vals away from the Nevada on the first wave, but unfortunately, the Arizona was not that lucky. A bomb stabbed the Arizona through her forward magazines and exploded, torching off more than 1 million pounds of gunpowder. Sailors on the Nevada watched in horror as the Arizona jumped 20 feet in the air and broke in two, forever entrapping 1,178 American servicemen in an underwater tomb. The ship sank in less than 3 minutes, and still today she remains at the bottom of the harbor in a watery grave, crying black tears as a reminder to all who lost their lives that infamous stepped out of his shack, drew his .45 caliber pistol, and began firing at the enemy airplanes. A Japanese pilot, Yoshida, saw Thompson firing back at them, and years later, he remembered Thompson's tenacity and fighting spirit, describing the Lone Marine as the bravest American I've ever seen. All over the island, soldiers were bringing their weapons to bear and fight anything they could get working, their .45 caliber pistols or their Springfield rifles. And in some cases, our soldiers were able to get 30 and 50 caliber belt-fed machine guns into action, bringing down numerous marauding Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates. Just look out there. Just think about that. Just think about being there. Look how much smoke. Hear those engines. See the bombs. Meanwhile, at Bellows Airfield on the northeastern coast of the island, more U.S. Army pilots were racing for their P-40s. Unfortunately, Japanese Zeros appeared at the same time and started strafing runs. One P-40 pilot was killed as he stepped into his cockpit. 2 other P-40s were shot down just as they got off the ground. The flight of 12 B-17s coming from the mainland finally arrived and were immediately attacked by Zeros. Unfortunately, in all the confusions, the B-17s were shot at by friend and foe. The frightened crew members landed wherever they could. One of them in a pineapple field not far from Hickenfield. B-17 pilot Major Landon, trying to land, said, "What a hell of a way to enter war. Out of glass, unarmed, and no place to land." Amazingly, though, 8 of those B-17s actually made it to Hickenfield. At the conclusion of the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, more than half of America's entire naval fleet had been destroyed or damaged. Nearly 2,400 Americans were killed, over 1,200 wounded, and at the time, 960 people were missing. 188 aircraft were destroyed, 159 damaged, just 155 aircraft lay on the ground. 2 battleships were destroyed, 3 light cruisers, 3 destroyers, and a total of 6 battleships. Our greatest naval base lay in ruins, along with our complacency. The following day, December 8, 1941, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt announced our entry into World War II with these words to Congress, the citizens of the United States, and the world.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. It will be recorded that the distance of Hawaii from Japan makes it obvious that the attack was deliberately planned many days or even weeks ago. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military forces. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
98,000 bombers, 24,000 transport planes, 58,000 trainers, 22 aircraft carriers, over 100,000 other floating ships, from battleships to submarines, and countless of thousands of ground vehicles. The United States' dedication led to the surrender not only of Japan, but Nazi Germany as well, giving peace and freedom to the entire world. We do this in appreciation of that dedication, determination, and effort, and extend our appreciation to the men and women here at Tinker Air Force Base fighting.
And hold them sideways.
put on by Tora bomb squad.